Hey everyone, have you ever noticed how why MMA comebacks almost never work? MMA fans love a comeback. There is something powerful about the idea of an old star returning, walking back into the lights, and proving that the old version is still somewhere inside them. It sells because it feels emotional, it feels unfinished, it makes people believe that time can be reversed if the fighter wants it badly enough. But MMA is not kind to nostalgia. The sport does not care how famous a fighter used to be, it does not care how big the walkout feels, it does not care what they did 5 years ago. Once the cage door closes, the comeback becomes something much colder. Timing, durability, reflexes, confidence, damage, inactivity, and the level of the opponent all get tested at once. That is why MMA comebacks almost never work, not because fighters forget how to fight, not because they become useless overnight, but because the version fans want to see usually does not exist anymore. The body has changed, the sport has moved, the division has evolved, and the fighter returning is often chasing a memory that the fight itself cannot bring back. Conor McGregor is the obvious reason this topic matters right now. His return against Max Holloway at UFC 329 is being built as one of the biggest comeback stories in years. It is scheduled for July 11th, 2026 in Las Vegas, and it would be McGregor's first UFC fight since breaking his leg against Dustin Poirier in 2021. That alone makes the fight feel massive, but it also makes the question impossible to ignore. What version of Conor is actually coming back? That is the trap with comebacks. People do not just want the fighter to return, they want the old feeling to return. With Conor, fans remember the featherweight run, the timing, the confidence, the way opponents seemed emotionally beaten before the first exchange. They remember the Aldo knockout, the Alvarez performance, the rise where everything felt sharp, loud, and inevitable. We also know this fight will be done at welterweight, which will probably favor him. He will be bigger than Max, have more power, and in the first round, he will bring some danger to the table. But that's about it at first view. Coming back to his featherweight run, that version of Conor was not just a skill set, it was a moment in time. He was younger, faster, more active, more hungry, and the sport around him was different. Since 2016, McGregor has fought only a handful of MMA fights and lost most of them, while Holloway has remained active against elite opposition and continued building one of the strongest resumes in the sport. That does not mean Conor cannot be dangerous. He always can be, but danger and a successful comeback are not the same thing. The first problem with comebacks is timing. Fighting is built on rhythm, not just the rhythm inside the cage, but the rhythm of competition. Camps, weight cuts, nerves, adjustments, reads, damage, recovery, all of it becomes part of the job. When a fighter is active, they stay connected to that rhythm. When they are gone for years, they may still train, but training is not the same as fighting. This is where fans get fooled. They see clips from the gym and think the fighter is back. The punches look fast, the body looks good, the pads sound sharp, but pads do not hit back. Sparring does not carry the same pressure. From what I've seen, McGregor isn't getting any hard looks from sparring. His gym is also not the best, which might be one of the reasons. And on top of that, no training room can recreate the feeling of being under the lights after years away, with an opponent trying to punish every old habit. That is why returning fighters often look strange. Not terrible, just slightly off. Their reactions are late, their reads take longer, their confidence does not flow the same way. McGregor hasn't been a fighter in around half a decade. Think about it, how that fact will translate into the fight. Even if the fighter knows what they want to do, the body does not always deliver it at the same speed. In MMA, that small delay is enough. That is why our returning fighters often look strange. Not terrible, just slightly off. Their reactions are late, their reads take longer, their confidence does not flow the same way. The fighter knows what they want to do, but the body does not always deliver it at the same speed. In MMA, that small delay is enough. Conor's case is extreme because his last UFC fight ended with a broken leg. A leg injury is not just another setback for a striker. It affects stance, movement, kicking confidence, balance, and the willingness to plant under pressure. Maybe he has recovered physically, maybe he looks great in training, but the question is not whether he can move. The question is whether he can move freely when Max Holloway is pressuring him, feinting, touching him, and forcing him to trust that leg in real time. That is the part people overlook. Recovery is not just medical, it is psychological. A fighter has to trust the repaired part of the body under chaos. They have to plant without thinking, pivot without hesitation, check kicks without doubt, throw with full commitment. If even a small part of them is protecting the injury, the fight changes. The third problem is that the sport moves without you. In my opinion, this may be the biggest factor out of them all. MMA does not wait. Every year, fighters become more layered. The training gets smarter, the divisions shift. The new generation studies the old one. What worked during a fighter's rise might still be useful, but it may no longer be enough. This is why nostalgia is dangerous. Fans remember a fighter as they were, but opponents prepare for what they are now. They study the decline, they study the inactivity, they study the moments where the old weapon stopped working. They do not fight the memory, they fight the man in front of them. Max Holloway is a brutal opponent for this exact reason. He is not just a name from Conor's past, he is a different fighter now. Although he fought Conor on his sixth UFC fight, he was 21 years older and has had more than 20 fights ever since. Even though McGregor won by unanimous decision, we have to accept that that fight belongs to another lifetime. Since then, Holloway became a UFC champion, fought elite competition for years, and rebuilt his own career through experience, volume, durability, and pace. The rematch is not really a rematch of the same two fighters, it is a fight between memory and evolution. That is why comebacks against elite opponents are so dangerous. A returning fighter usually needs time. They need a manageable opponent, a slower pace, a chance to rebuild rhythm, but stars do not come back quietly. They come back in main events against names under massive attention with everyone expecting a movie ending. That is terrible conditions for actually winning. Sure, if you count the greatest fighters of all time who came back and beat their opposition, like John Jones with Cyril Gane and George St-Pierre with Michael Bisping, as evidence of why I'm wrong, I would say that you have a great point. But Cyril Gane was literally playing FIFA in Fight Week against arguably the best mixed martial artist of all time, and Michael Bisping almost lost his belt to a 46-year-old Dan Henderson. Now, does Conor compare to St. Pierre and Jones? And does Holloway compare to Gane and Henderson? The fourth problem is identity. Many fighters come back trying to prove they are still who they were. That can be deadly. If a fighter was known for power, they chase the knockout. If they were known for pressure, they try to force the old pace. If they were known for toughness, they walk into danger to prove nothing changed. But something has changed, and refusing to accept that is how comebacks turn ugly. The best comeback would require humility. A fighter has to accept they are not the same. They have to build a new version around what remains. Less ego, more efficiency, fewer explosions, better defense, smarter pacing. But that is hard because fans are not paying to see a careful reinvention, they are paying to see the old magic, and fighters feel that. This is where Conor's comeback becomes fascinating. The old Conor was built on certainty. He was loose, sharp, mocking, calm, and violent when the opening appeared. But later in his career, especially after the Alvarez fight, the aura changed. Opponents stopped reacting the same way. The left hand was still dangerous, but the entire system around it became easier to prepare for. And when a fighter's game is partly built on aura, losing that aura changes everything. And this does not mean fighters should never come back. Some need closure, some still have something left, some can find a new version of themselves. But fans should stop pretending a comeback is just about desire. Wanting it badly does not restore reflexes. Motivation does not erase inactivity. Confidence does not rebuild durability, and nostalgia does not win exchanges. The comeback only works if the fighter accepts the truth, and they are not returning to the same sport, they are not returning to the same body, they are not returning to the same aura. They have to build something new from what is left, and that is why most fail. Because they are not really trying to come back as something new, they are trying to return as someone who no longer exists. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. It will help out the channel a lot and will be highly appreciated. Peace.